The Tudor dynasty is one of the most well-known royal families in English history. Their dramatic lives, filled with intrigue, scandal, and tragedy, have captivated the public imagination for centuries. This fascination has only increased in recent years, thanks to popular films and television shows that bring the Tudor court to life. At the center of it all was King Henry VIII, who ruled England from 1509 to 1547. Henry is most famous for having 6 wives, 2 of whom he had executed. His tumultuous marriages were driven by his desperate desire for a male heir to secure the Tudor line. Henry's marital troubles led him to break from the Catholic Church and establish the Church of England, sparking centuries of religious turmoil in Britain. While we may feel familiar with Henry VIII and his wives, like characters in a soap opera, many of us do not know what they actually looked like. After all, there were no cameras in the 16th century to capture their images for posterity. Luckily, Henry had the foresight to hire a brilliant German-born painter, Hans Holbein the Younger, to capture the likenesses of his family and courtiers. Without Holbein, our mental images of the Tudors would be far poorer. Holbein first came to England in 1526, and by 1536 was appointed as Henry's official court painter. This brought him into the innermost circles of power during the most dramatic years of Henry's reign. Holbein had a ringside seat as Henry divorced his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, married the ill-fated Anne Boleyn, executed Anne and took on his third wife, Jane Seymour, buried Jane after she died in childbirth, and then married 3 more wives in rapid succession. Holbein navigated the dangerous political waters with tact and discretion. He managed to stay in Henry's good graces until his death, never falling victim to the king's rages like so many others. Holbein's flattering portrait of Anne of Cleves helped persuade Henry to take her as his 4th wife, sight unseen. But when Henry finally met Anne in person, he cruelly declared, "I like her not." Henry quickly divorced Anne and executed his chief minister Thomas Cromwell for arranging the unfortunate match. But tellingly, he never blamed Holbein for the artistic exaggeration. A new exhibition at Buckingham Palace displays a treasure trove of Holbein's preparatory sketches of Tudor faces, allowing us to compare the real figures with how they have been portrayed on screen. For example, Holbein's drawing of Anne Boleyn shows her in simple dress, wearing a plain linen cap over her dark hair. Her eyes are her most striking feature, described by one ambassador as black and beautiful. This is a far cry from the glamorous Anne played by Natalie Dormer in The Tudors. Likewise, Holbein's rendition of Jane Seymour is prim and restrained, lacking her reputation for beauty. Holbein's most enduring image is his massive mural depicting Henry VIII standing tall, arrogant, and imposing. This iconic painting has shaped our vision of the tyrannical, larger-than-life king. Holbein also beautifully captured Henry's 3rd wife, Jane Seymour, his son Prince Edward, and Henry's parents in this grand dynastic portrait. Other miniature paintings on display likely portray Catherine Howard and other prominent figures at court. Through his insightful and delicate brushstrokes, Hans Holbein brought the Tudor court to life. While written accounts give us information, only Holbein's art allows us to gaze directly upon the faces of these historical figures. Without Holbein, our mental portrait of the Tudors would be much coarser, deprived of detail and personality. We owe our fascination with and connection to this drama-filled era to the skills of this remarkable German master who immortalized the Tudors in paint. Holbein's work allows Henry VIII and his subjects to live on, confronting us from the canvas with all their humanity. It is truly fascinating to ponder that when the young Prince Edward succeeded to the throne as Edward VI, following his father Henry VIII's death, the boy king already owned the book of portrait drawings crafted by Hans Holbein the Younger. This treasure tome included the image of Edward as a child as well as a portrait of his departed mother Jane Seymour. For over 100 years, this remarkable book passed between various owners, both royal and common alike, until in 1675, during the reign of Charles II, it was reacquired for the royal collection. Edward's successor, his half-sister Mary I, is also represented in the exhibition that features these Holbein drawings. Her image shows the princess wearing a fashionable English hood and an elegant necklace with a pendant. When Mary inherited the crown from her young brother who died at only 15 years old, she sought to return England to the Catholic faith. This earned her the sobriquet Bloody Mary, as many Protestants were persecuted and executed during her reign. However, her efforts to produce an heir with her husband Felipe of Spain were ultimately fruitless. The exhibition shines a light on many of Henry VIII's chief courtiers captured by Holbein's skillful hand. One was Sir Thomas More, the lawyer, social philosopher, author, statesman, and Renaissance humanist. More commissioned Holbein to paint a portrait of his family that included himself with his wife and children. This marked the beginning of Holbein's career in England, as More became his first patron in the country. More had been introduced to the artist through a letter of recommendation sent by his friend, the Dutch humanist scholar Desiderius Erasmus. In addition to his many intellectual pursuits, More loyally served Henry VIII as Lord High Chancellor from 1529 to 1532. However, he fell from the king's graces when he refused to acknowledge Henry as supreme head of the Church of England. Staying true to his Catholic faith, More was convicted of treason and beheaded in 1535. Another influential courtier featured is Thomas Howard, the 3rd Duke of Norfolk, who was uncle to Anne Boleyn and Henry's 5th wife Catherine Howard. Norfolk served as godfather to Prince Edward and arranged the marriage of his daughter Mary to Henry's illegitimate son Henry Fitzroy. His own son and heir was Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey, a poet who pioneered the English sonnet form that was later perfected by Shakespeare. In 1546, as Henry VIII's health declined, Surrey and his father were arrested and accused of plotting to usurp control of the country. Despite Norfolk's decades of loyal service to the crown, Henry showed him no mercy. Surrey was beheaded on 19 January 1547, just 9 days before the king himself passed away. Yet another subject of Holbein's who fell prey to Henry's notorious wrath was John Fisher, Bishop of Rochester. Fisher was a steadfast supporter of Henry's first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Initially appointed Bishop of Rochester at the extraordinarily young age of 35 in 1504, Fisher came to Catherine's defense during Henry's attempts to have their marriage annulled. Although Fisher reluctantly accepted Henry as head of the Church of England in 1532, he refused to take the accompanying oath of supremacy. In April 1534, he was imprisoned in the Tower of London for refusing to publicly support the annulment and remarriage. And in a final twist of irony, Fisher had been appointed a cardinal just days before his execution for high treason in June 1535. The exhibition also includes sketches by Holbein of the poet Sir Thomas Wyatt. Wyatt had the misfortune of being accused of committing adultery with Anne Boleyn in 1536. He managed to escape execution but was imprisoned in the Tower. Remarkably, he was released and restored to favor thanks to the intervention of Henry's 5th wife, Catherine Howard, just 5 years later. However, his luck finally ran out when Wyatt became embroiled in another plot against the king in 1541. He was again imprisoned but passed away of natural causes the following year, his head still firmly attached to his shoulders. One courtier who proved adept at navigating the dangerous intrigues of the Tudor court was Ralph Sadler. He began his career as secretary to Thomas Cromwell, but went on to serve Henry VIII's son Edward VI and daughter Elizabeth I as Privy Councillor, Secretary of State, and Ambassador to Scotland. When Sadler died in March 1587 at the remarkable age of 80, he was reputed to be the richest commoner in all of England. This exhibition of Holbein's Tudor portraits provides a fascinating glimpse into the tumultuous world of Henry VIII's court. The images capture both the splendor and the peril of those who chose to serve the mercurial passions of England's infamous royal tyrant. Holbein's technical mastery immortalized both the glorious and the tragic figures of this dramatic era in British history.
Dear friend, if you like everything new about the royal family and don't want to miss all the novelties, subscribe to our channel and like it. By doing so, you take part in our development. We work for you.